All right, we will go ahead and get started for today. Welcome to August's Technology Mod. This month's topic is AT advocacy and IEPs and school AT. For anybody new to the series, these all get recorded and posted to the Charting the Life course YouTube channel to go back and watch later. And then slides will also be sent out in a follow email along with that YouTube link. And there is no access to the chat, but there is a Q&A. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those in there and we will stop and answer those as those come in. I'm also going to go ahead and send a message in the chat. Those are just some links that we're going to go through today, but I want to make sure that they are sent ahead of time. All right, my name is Angelina Alpert, and I am a research assistant at the University of Missouri, Kansas City Institute for Human Development. And today we are going to go over a overview of the Missouri No Wrong Door, explore Charting the Life course school age and employment resources, and learn new ideas and strategies for advocacy and IEPs and school AT. So a little bit about No Wrong Door. The goal of No Wrong Door is to transform the way people access services in the community. So it supports individuals and caregivers to make decisions on complete and accurate information about their options for anyone seeking long-term services and supports, regardless of age, income, or disability. We have a lot of partners across the state that are working with us on No Wrong Door initiatives. One of which is Missouri Assistive Technology, which is our partner for these technology open door series. Just a quick announcement, as part of No Wrong Door, we work really closely with the Master Plan on Aging. They currently have a statewide needs assessment out. So that is filling out a survey to hear from everyone in the state of Missouri to make sure that the Master Plan on Aging is what older adults and adults with disabilities, as well as caregivers in the state of Missouri, are looking for. So there's a QR code there, as well as the link is what I dropped in the chat. If you have not already filled out this survey, that would be great. Also sharing the link to the survey with your networks. And that is open until September 16th. So the Missouri Open Door series the goal is opening doors to integrated supports. So this is our integrated support star, and the goal of this integrated support star is to think about different types of services and supports rather than just eligibility specific. So we have personal strengths and assets. So those are going to be skills, things that a person is good at, personal belongings and resources, relationships, whether they're family or friends or acquaintances, community-based, which are places in the community that anybody would have access to, such as businesses, parks, schools, groups or membership organizations, technology, which is what we are going to talk about today, which is personal technology, such as your phone, your laptops, assistive or adaptive technology, as well as environmental technology. And then we have eligibility specific, which are needs-based services, whether that's age, geography, income level, employment status, specific disability or diagnosis. And we have a Missouri Open Door benefit series in which we cover those. So this is our integrating services and support systems. So as I mentioned, the goal of the integrated support star is to think about different types of services rather than those that are just eligibility specific or government specific services. Those can sometimes unintentionally seclude a person from the family or community that they would like to be a part of. And so we want to integrate those different types of services and supports in a person's support system. That way they're able to live the good life that they want in the community of their choice. So I'm first going to go over some charting the life course resources. So charting the life course is a framework and set of tools to help you think differently about your vision of a good life, set high expectations, and integrate multiple types of services and supports. It also helps you to organize your ideas, visions, and goals, as well as problem solve, navigate, and advocate for supports. So today's focus is on school age. So I just pulled a couple of things from our website about school age and employment. Um, we oftentimes talk about school, but don't always include transition age within that. So there is a stat there from the Office of for Disability Employment Policy from 2019 that reported that only 43.9% of young adults with disabilities were employed compared to 74.4% of young adults without disabilities. So just going to go over a couple of things to help think about transition a little bit earlier in school. Bear with me as I try to switch my screens here. The first thing we are going to look at is the Life Course Nexus website. So the website is lifecoursetools.com. Under the Life Course Library, exploring the life domains, we have this daily life and employment page, which I hope this is sharing. Yes, it looks like it is. So on here, there are different resources for employment, starting to think about your options for employment and what you would like to do after school, exploring employment, what you would like to do after school. I have some of these pulled up here. We have our exploring portfolio. So you'd fill out things that you are good at or interested in. Sorry. Why it's important for you to work and what supports you would need to help in a job or career. Your integrated support star for career goals, as well as a trajectory. And then we also have our employment guide. Okay, our employment guide, which talks about some different career opportunities, good things to know when thinking about transition. And then on our other page for exploring the life stages, there are guides for different life experiences. So we have one for school age as well as one for the transition to adulthood. So I am so sorry, I'm having quite a hard time here. So I have these pulled up for school age as well as transition. And these just talk about, provide different questions to think about in school and in transition age to make sure that you're thinking about all the things that will help you live the good life that you want. Okay, we should be back on the slides now. Okay, so with that, I am going to go ahead and pass it over to Kara, and she's going to take it over from here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kara. I'm with Missouri Assistive Technology. I run the ETC device loan program and our AT reimbursement program for schools. And then today, kind of going with the reimbursement program, we do a lot with IEPs. So I'm going to talk about AT advocacy and IEPs. And then we'll also talk a little bit about some assistive tech that we can't use in schools too. So this one is a little bit different than the ones in the past if you've been on before. A lot of times we just kind of focus in on the AT, you know, depending on what area we're talking about. With this one today, in order to be able to advocate for yourself, to advocate for your child, your students, whoever, you need to be able to know at least a little bit about the law, your rights, things like that. So we're going to kind of go into some of that today. These are just the links of just some like statutes and regulations that govern the provision of AT. I'm not going to go into all of these because there's a lot here. I just kind of wanted to more so provide you with the links. If you want to go down a rabbit hole one day, you definitely can with all of these. But I just wanted to provide you the links whenever Angelina does send out the slides. You can have access to that and kind of go through all of that. You can go to the next one too, Angelina. Thank you. So I'm primarily just going to talk about the IDEA Act, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. They recently, well, I shouldn't say recently, about 20 years ago, updated it in 2004. So that's the most recent one that we have. So with IDEA and FAPE, FAPE is Free Appropriate Public Education. So every student with a disability that's in a public school, they are entitled to free appropriate public education. So it's free. Should not be at any expense to the parents. It's appropriate. So when I think of appropriate, especially when it comes to assistive technology, we have to think, there are IEP meetings, there are IEP teams to discuss what is going to be most beneficial for the student, what they will need in regards to, if you have a student who's blind, needing Braille, things like that. But, kind of keep in mind the word appropriate, because when we talk about assistive technology, it does have to be a team decision. And again, it does have to be appropriate. They have things like robotic guide dogs, which is great. I'm sure people could benefit from a robotic guide dog, but that, financially is not the most appropriate thing. When it comes to a school, a white cane will do just fine, which, more than likely they would have their own white cane, but you get the point. It's not, we don't have to go with like the most fancy assistive technology out there. We just need to meet their needs. Okay, so IDEA defines assistive technology device as any item, piece of equipment, product. It could be off the shelf, it could be modified, or it could just be like a DIY that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of a child with a disability. This does not include any kind of like medical device that's surgically implanted, like a cochlear implant. So a lot of times when we think about technology, we think, okay, the tablet version, something kind of high tech. It could be something, simple. Scout has a lot of 3D printed items, and he has one. I'll kind of talk about it later. It's like a stress ball that you push a pin through, and so for those that can't grasp onto a pin, but they can hold on to something wider like a ball, that's considered assistive technology. So just kind of keep that definition in mind whenever we're talking about some different AT today. And then IDEA also defines assistive technology service as any service that directly assists a student with a disability in the selection, acquisition, or use of assistive technology. So this includes if they need evaluation, purchasing, or leasing, borrowing, somehow acquiring assistive technology. Selecting it, designing it, customizing all of that, coordinating using other therapies. So if, a lot of times the SLP will kind of be the one that is using like like an AAC device, but, do you need to include an occupational therapist? Can they make the selection with their finger, or do we need to add in, some more support with that? Any kind of training for the student with this device, both for the child, for their family, and for the people that are working with the child. So That is all included under IDEA. So within the IEP, there's a section on the special considerations page that talks about it. I think it says, is assistive technology required? And you either have to mark yes, no, or I think maybe other is an option. Um, assistive technology has to be considered at every single IEP meeting. That box has to be discussed. So even if it's a student that, does not need AT, which I'm not going to get my soapbox about that. I think a lot of students could benefit from assistive technology, but again, it has to be an IEP team decision. So that's got to be discussed. Do they need it? Do they not need it? Do they need to do further evaluating to see if there's something out there that could benefit the student? So it has to be discussed at every single IEP meeting. That is the law. Um, and AT evaluations have to be provided if it was requested. And then also AT services and devices have to be provided if they are required by, if it's determined by the IEP team that an AT device is necessary. Again, it's the law. It has to be provided, both the device and services, and it needs to be provided in a timely manner. So when you are considering within the IEP, again, you have to discuss, is it needed? Is it not needed? Or do we need more information? Do we need to do an evaluation? Do we need to do more trials? That all needs to be documented within the IEP. And the provision of AT, it can either be as a related service, as a supplemental aid or service, or as part of special education. And then I know I just discussed acquisition of AT must be timely. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole to see, in the hundreds of pages of IDEA, do they define timely? And they do not. But, I would kind of, just think about, like, if you have the IEP meeting in October, it is not, reasonable to wait until March to order these devices, especially if it's a device that the student needs, for their education. So again, you can't help like manufacturing issues or like, if there's like a delay on any, thing once you get it ordered, that is out of your control. But as soon as like the IEP meeting's done and it's determined that a student needs a device, you know exactly what device the student does need. There's no more trialing or evaluating that needs to be done. Then that device needs to be ordered as soon as possible, because a lot of times some of these devices do take a little while to come in. And again, if there is a delay, on the manufacturer's end, that is out of your control. But, personally, I think the ethical thing to do would be to try to provide, some kind of loaner device, some kind of temporary device in the meantime, even if it's not exactly the device that they will end up using, but just so they have something in the meantime while they're waiting on their device. Okay, and then where do you document assistive technology in the IEP? This is up to the LEA. Typically, it's going to either be like the special education director, process coordinator that will make that decision. I know a lot of districts kind of like to keep their IEPs, in a very similar setup. So more than likely, it'll be up to them unless the state requires, it to go in a certain location, which as far as I know, Missouri doesn't. So that will kind of be more of a district decision. But it needs to be at least in one of these places in the IEP, but being, redundant, having it in multiple places is just good for practice, good for everybody. So again, like I mentioned, the AT section on the special considerations page, that has to be, you either have to mark yes or no. So if AT is required, it will be marked yes. There is an explanation section underneath that whenever you do mark yes. Um, the kind of, you don't have to explain anything there. Um, but kind of the rule of thumb that I tell people is if you're going to explain what the student is needing, I would not use any kind of specific device name. Because if you say, um, for example, like a NovaChat, AAC device, if they stop making the NovaChat, the school is still liable to provide that, even if it can't be ordered anymore, so if the student's device breaks and needs to be replaced, you're going to have to go through, either amending the IEP or having a whole nother IEP meeting, because the school is responsible for providing that specific device because that specific device is stated in the IEP. So I would just keep it general, like the student needs a high-tech AAC device. The student needs some kind of magnifier, CCTV. Just use kind of more general terms like that if you do state anything like that. On the special considerations page, it could also be on the modifications and accommodations page, in the minutes and notes. And the IEP goals, I have seen some schools specifically tie goals to AAC devices. Um, a lot of times it has to do with, you know, AAC, um, or yeah, I think it just said that AAC devices. Um, so you probably wouldn't tie a goal to something like a magnifier or, use kind of like that. But within an AAC device, because they are using it, daily in their social, I mean, AAC device can be used in every type of setting. So it's a little bit easier to tie a goal with that, but that kind of locks in that the student needs that device and it has to be provided. And then also on the present level, this is kind of where you can more specifically state what they're using. Because if for whatever, if they move to a new school, which, happens a lot, the IEP is going to go with them. So if nothing else goes with them and no other contact is made with the previous school, and you only have the IEP, I I think it's best practice to stay, exactly what they're using. So then, if that device doesn't go with them, because as much as we encourage schools to send it with them, they don't necessarily have to. So when they move to that new school, at least the IEP states this is what they've been using, this is what they've, that has worked for them. So then the school, rather than having to, do trials and try to figure out what, works best for them, they can kind of pick up right where they left off and get that device ordered that they've been using. Okay, so as we talk about school assistive technology, here's just the different levels of technology. It could either be accommodations, so something that is not necessarily a new device, something that has just been modified. There's low tech, medium tech, and high tech. So I'm going to talk about some of the different areas. So reading, writing, and math are going to be the main ones that I talk about. And then I'll just talk about some general assistive technology that can be used in schools. So as far as reading, so these are one of our more popular devices. These can be used quite a bit, and they're very helpful for students that have, reading disability. These reading pens will, you scan the text and it'll read it out loud. So the OrCam can do some other things too. They're kind of playing around with some different like AI features. I think that you can like read to it and it'll also give you like feedback. So there's some different features that one has. That's pretty cool. But again, you scan the text, you kind of take a picture of it, and then it reads that text out loud. Same with the C Pen. The C Pen also has a dictionary feature. So you can look up different words as you scan it. You can click on a word and it will define that word for you. And then the scan marker, I like that one because you can scan it. So that one has to be plugged into like an iPad or something in order to work. And as you scan it, it comes up in like almost like a Word document. Um, so that one's kind of nice because then you have everything that you've been reading, like if you were reading from a textbook or something, that is now like in a Word document on your device. And then it also reads it out loud too. That one's kind of nice because then you can go through and copy and paste if you needing to. You can go in and add your own text. So after you scan what you're trying to read, then you can go through and kind of make notes if you're wanting to add anything. You can highlight, do several different functions like that. Some other good assistive technology for reading is text to speech. Um, JAWS is one we more so consider JAWS as a screen reader, which has text to speech capabilities. So, and the difference with that is with being a screen reader, it's more so for students who are blind or low vision because it does a little bit more as far as like the visuals that you might see on a screen. And it has a certain way of like, kind of going through like the sections that are on, like in a web page, the different paragraphs. So it will read it out loud, but it does a little bit more with like the pictures and everything like that. So it'll like read the alternative text that is typically on a picture. So that's more for blind or low vision students. Some other ones they're just good for anybody in general, especially those with reading disabilities. Read and Write is really good. Snap and Read is also really good. I think they have both an app version and a website version. So you do kind of need to look and see which one, depending on what your student uses, if they're using a Chromebook, an iPad, see which one works, with each device. But they have a ton out there where you can just take a picture of what you're reading, and then it'll go through and it'll read everything out loud for you. Also with Read and Write, they also have a dictionary function too. As you're, kind of scanning things, you can select certain words, and it'll pull up a dictionary. This one even looks like it pulls up a picture dictionary too. So there's some cool features with those that aren't just text speech. They have a lot of highlighting features. Some will also like get rid of like the clutter on a page. It'll kind of like simplify the page. So if you're on like a web page that has a lot of different ads and just a lot of kind of chaos on the page, more than just the words that they're trying to read, it'll get rid of all of that. So there's a lot out there that can do that. And then also just checking with whatever system that you're using, a Chromebook, a MacBook, looking at the built-in accessibility features. So I know on Word, it does have a read aloud function. You do have to you have to make sure that you're on, that you have the more updated version. I know whenever I was looking on my computer here at work, I think I have like Word like 2016, and it won't do that on there. But I have a more updated version on my laptop, which will have the read aloud function. So if for whatever reason you can't find that function, you probably need a more updated version of Word. And then some assistive technology for dyslexia. Um, the LiveScribe pen, that one's really cool because as you're, especially in older classes, high school, even college, as you're taking notes, rather than having to write down every single word that the teacher's saying that you're trying to jot down and kind of keep up with them, you can just write a few words down and record. So record what the teacher's saying. So you could just write, a simple word like frogs. And then if the teacher is lecturing on frogs, you record that. And whenever you go back and you touch that word frogs, you can listen to the entire lecture that you've recorded. So rather than having to write down every single word, you can just listen. Um, so that one's really nice. The just reading guide strips, as you can see in that picture, it kind of blocks out, um, at, some of the excess, and so it's a little easier to follow along with the lines. And then the dyslexia keyboard, that one's just like a Bluetooth connection keyboard, and it has the letters and the numbers. Everything's in different colors. The consonants are in one color, the vowels are in another color. So kind of having those different colors helps students with dyslexia with the different visuals. And then some assistive technology for writing. So kind of the opposite, speech to text. So as you speak something, it'll come up, it'll dictate, in typically like a Word document. Dragon is a very popular one. That can be used, it can be used for those who are blind or visually impaired, those who, um, have a reading disability. If you have a physical disability and you're not able to type, it can be used for anybody. That one's really cool too because it learns your voice. So even if you do have a speech impediment, um, and again, I say this for more of like a moderate speech impediment, not one that's too significant, um, but more of like a mild or moderate speech impediment, it will learn your voice, it will learn your speech patterns. So as you use it more, it'll get better and better with the dictating feature. Um, Clicker, Clicker has a lot of different features to it. This one again, you can use on a computer or you can use, they have an app version as well. And they have a lot of different supports. So they do have a dictation feature. They have a dictionary feature as well. They'll do like word prediction. And then like this one, you can set up different supports. So like this one is, you make a sentence with, like a sentence starter. Um, it looks like you pick, a food, a drink, and then, you add in words like and or please or add in a period. Um, so you can have different levels of support with that. You don't have to use this feature, but it is kind of nice for those beginner writers to be able to kind of like mix and match to come up with their own sentence. Um, and then again, built-in accessibility features. So with the newer version of Microsoft Word, they do have a dictating feature that you can use within Word. And then again, I would check, if you're using a MacBook, they might have different accessibility features. Um, I would assume because a lot of iPhones have that feature. So just explore what you have and see what's already built in that you don't even have to add to. And some different adaptive writing tools. So line writing guides, they're just, kind of a different like cutout. It's thin, so it can just lay over paper and you can lay your hand on top of it. But that helps, kind of keep within that space. Raised line paper, again, you can kind of just feel where the different lines are and stay within those lines. And then also think about positioning. So having something like a slant board, maybe it's hard for the student to write, with their hands straight down, but they can write at more of an angle. So think of different ways that you can position the paper differently when it comes to writing um, to be more the most effective for the student. And then some other adaptive writing tools. There's all kinds of pencil grips out there. This one, specifically, that one in the top left specifically holds your fingers exactly how they should be placed on a pencil. So if you do have somebody that I've seen all kinds of weird pencil grasps over my years of teaching and working with kids. A lot of kids like to use like their whole hand to hold it. So this just kind of teaches exactly how a child should hold their pencil. This is not pencil grips, not more so for somebody with a physical disability that can't hold a pencil like that. It's more so for, just teaching kids to get into the habit of that's how you hold it. The writing bird is a really good one. It's used a lot of time for somebody with tremors, or somebody that just doesn't have, that fine motor grasp. You lay it, again, you can kind of see it holds the pen, and then you lay it on the paper and you just guide, your hand across. It does take some practice to kind of get used to writing like that. But it is, better than the alternative, somebody that does have tremors. It's going to minimize that shaking. A 3D printed ball, or I think I mentioned earlier, even something like a stress ball. You take a stress ball and you just stab a pen through, so that is easier to hold on to than just having the pen. The guided hands, that one's a little bit bulkier, but again, a child that does have tremors, can't hold on to a pen, you lay your hand in it and it will, guide around the paper, and then you can kind of like lift it up and down. So if you are, if the student is shaking, then they can lift it up, take a pause, and then put it back down. And then the ring writer clip, again, that's just another adaptive tool to help you hold that pin in place. So again, if you can't hold on to it, it kind of holds on to it for you. But you do have to have some grasp to help guide it. And then also think about weighted writing tools. Again, for those that have tremors, sometimes just a small hand weight will help minimize those tremors. A weighted pen, a weighted pen holder will kind of help minimize that. I've also seen students that when they write, they have such light pressure that you can hardly even read the handwriting because they're not pressing down the way that they should be. So that's where a weighted tool really comes in handy for that. And then some assistive technology for math. So there's different kinds of calculators out there. There are talking calculators. Those are typically used for students who are blind, but I think those are also really good for students with learning disabilities, dyscalculia. Those are all great to have kind of that audio feedback of exactly what they're putting in to the calculator. There's also large print calculators. Again, should be more so used for somebody that has low vision, but would also be great for somebody who has some dexterity issues, can't quite press the buttons on the smaller calculators. So a larger one is more beneficial. And then there's also different calculator apps. There's, Discalculator, the big calculator. That one has different contrast for those with low vision. There is a visual currency calculator that, obviously for counting money. And then there's a talking scientific calculator app. So I actually had somebody call the other day and they were looking for a large print talking scientific calculator, which they do have those. They do, those are made. But the one that we have is only the smaller version, like the one that's on the screen. But we kind of came up with a solution that you could use that app on something like an iPad Pro. Because a talking scientific calculator, I think the one that I looked up that was large print, that one's about $615. So whereas the app is $5. So think about different solutions like that, something that's a little bit more cost effective. And a lot of times students already have an iPad. Um, so that was a great solution for that. And then some low tech math aids. Think about math manipulatives. Um, a lot of times those are used with younger kids, but they don't necessarily have to be. And a lot of times, if a student, if it helps them to count their fingers, to count objects, if that's what works for them, then they should continue to use that. Number lines, those are great for adding, subtracting, great to have that visual. And then also, there are a ton of apps out there, a ton of websites that have virtual math manipulatives. So instead of going out, buying a class set of like the counting bears, anything like that, you can use virtual ones. So one that I really like is the Number Pieces app. Um, they separate it. You can do ones, tens, hundreds, and you can, like group them together. You can write or type onto the app. So that one, there's just a lot of different options with something like that. And then there are some math programs out there. Equatio is a really good one that they just offer a lot of help with math, kind of just different ways to solve problems. The Photo Math app, if you take a picture of it, it'll put it in like a typed version, and then you can specifically say either simplify the equation or show the solving steps. So this is something I would not use on a test, but as your students are practicing learning how to do a math equation, it will specifically show you every single step that needs to be done to solve the problem. So it's a great support to go through how to solve problems if a student, is having trouble with something like that. And then I would also think too about a more digitalized version, something like Go Worksheet Plus. There's also Seesaw. There's a lot of different, digital options when it comes to submitting work in general. But I like these options because you can draw, once you take that picture or you upload the worksheet, you can draw on it, you can type into it, you can write, and then you can also record yourself. So if a student is having a hard time writing out, I know a lot of, especially once you get to high school, they all say, you need to show your work of how you solve that. Otherwise, they think you're cheating. So you rather than having a student, who might have a physical disability and might not be able to write, or maybe just writing all that stuff out kind of gets confusing for them. So they can record themselves and record how they solved the problem and go through all those different steps. So, not every student has to submit the worksheet in the exact same way. If they can record themselves and explain it and it makes sense, then that should be all that's required. Doesn't matter whether they write it out, whether they record it, whether they submit paper version, a digital version. Um, I think as long as they can explain themselves, that should be good enough for the teacher. And then some other assistive technology that could be used in schools. Think about magnifiers. It could be something that's simple and handheld. Like the one on the very left, it has a light, but it's very simple, doesn't need to be charged. If you use the light, has batteries, so the batteries might need to be changed every once in a while. But that's an option. There's also handheld digital magnifiers. So again, something that does like the Ruby XL, you can carry it around super easily. It does need to be charged. It has some different like contrast options. But again, if you get a smaller device, you're going to only be able to see a smaller amount of text at a time. And then there's something like a desktop magnifier, the Cloverbook Pro. There's ones that will magnify what's right in front of you. There's ones that also have distance cameras, um, like this one does. So you can see, and it has a second screen, so you can see what's on the board. You can see what's right in front of you. And again, you have some different contrast options, color contrast options, and you can magnify those. So if there's something, again, a lot of teachers use, they, write on the board, something with a distance camera is good for that. I don't, know how often schools are using physical textbooks anymore, but that's something to keep in mind. How are they going to, a lot of times with those textbooks, there is a lot of information on that page and it's really tiny. So how are they going to be able to access that? There are digital versions of textbooks a lot of times, and you can use a text-to-speech function for somebody that isn't able to see that, but somebody that does have low vision, would a magnifier be sufficient enough? Could they use text to speech? Just think about different ways. How are they going to access that text? There's different FN systems. So for those that are hard of hearing, something like the Bellman domino, there's also a listen talk. The teacher wears one piece, and then the student wears the other piece with headphones. So as the teacher is speaking, it amplifies it for the student that's wearing the headphones. A red cat, that is kind of it's like a speaker system, so it amplifies it for the entire class. The teacher holds the microphone, and the whole class, can hear a little louder what the teacher's saying. The Phonak for education and the Auticon EduMic, those are specific to hearing aids. But that's another option that will, stream directly to the student's hearing aid, amplify it for them, whatever the teacher is saying, rather than having all the extra background noise. So think about that, as teachers are lecturing, giving instructions, things like that. How are sometimes, having the student sit closest to the teacher could be a solution, but more than likely that's not going to be a solution for every setting and every activity that they do. So think about how is the student best going to get that information from the teacher. And then just think about visual aids. These can be used a lot of times, with younger students. But, timers are great for anybody. Having those visual timers, especially when you're having a visual timer with each task, those help with transitions. I like the countdown timer because it'll come up with, a picture as it's done. So the students like that. You have to make sure that it's not too distracting for them. But it is a good visual aid to have. And then think about things just like visual schedules. A lot of schools, when it comes to assistive technology, especially when you put assistive technology in an IEP, a lot of schools are like, whoa, no way, we don't want to be responsible for that. That sounds like a lot of money. I always put assistive technology was required for all of my students, even if they weren't using an AAC device, because they could use something, they could benefit from something like a visual schedule. A visual schedule was great for all of my students because there's so much that goes on during a school day. So having, a schedule laid out, a lot of times every school day is different depending on, do they have PE today? Do they have art today? High schools do A day, B day. So those visual schedules were great for everybody and, ourselves as teachers included. Okay, so I ended it just a little bit early. If you guys do have any questions? There's so much more out there. I don't want you guys to think that this is it. Um, but this is just kind of scratching the surface on just some things to consider when it comes to school assistive technology.
All right, thank you, Kara. Um, if anybody has any questions, the Q&A is open, and we can pull them up. Otherwise, you can feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you. While we're waiting for questions to come in, I am going to go ahead and move through the closing slides. So our benefit series, which is oh, we already have some hands, so I will go ahead and hold on one second. Okay, Sean, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you and you should be able to ask your question.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, yeah, I was seeing both the chat and the host that it says it's turned off the Q&A, so I'm not seeing a chat or a Q&A option.
Oh, is odd. Hmm.
And my only question was just, yeah, if we could get a copy of this, that would be awesome.
Okay, I think I just turned on the Q&A. Apologies, I didn't realize it was turned off. But yes, the recording will be posted to YouTube, the Charting the Life course YouTube channel, and then a link to that as well as a PDF of the slides will go out in a follow-up email within like a week or so.
Thanks so much.
It looks like you're still muted, Diana.
I'm sorry. Please
All good.
forgive me. Um, as a person is, thank you for your wonderful presentation. As a person is transitioning out of the school system, have we changed the laws since the days that the student is able to take that device with them?
So, and I also see, Sarah, you kind of asked something similar to that. That is up to the school. Unfortunately, it's up to their discretion. Even with our reimbursement program, you know, we do reimburse, so we are kind of the ones that pay for that. But the school technically is the one that purchases the device. So it is up to the school's discretion on if they want to send it home with the student, if they want to let the student graduate with it. We always encourage that because, you know, that's, I think, best practice, especially when it comes to something like an AAC device. So they're using the same device at school and at home. You know, it's less confusing for the student. But I also, you know, kind of see it from the school side where they are still held liable to provide that device. So if they send it home and it gets broken, the school is the one that's responsible to pay for it. So a lot of times schools are kind of hesitant, you know, to send it home.
Well, Medicaid purchases that, they bill Medicaid, and Medicaid purchases that device for that student, technically. So that's a gray area.
Yeah, are you talking about like if a student gets it through insurance, or are you talking about with the school still?
Well, through the school system. But
Yeah.
that is a gray area that so many people with developmental disabilities, when they leave, then they're lost without a way to communicate throughout the rest of their life. And they are not cured when they leave the school systems. And without a way to communicate with the rest of the world, we're lost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a gray area. Again, I mean, it's something we encourage schools to do, but you know, they don't always follow that. And it's especially hard after students graduate because funding is so much more limited after they leave the school system. So the other option would be, you know, see if they qualify for the waiver program, because a lot of that stuff they could get through the waiver program.
And that's what we have to do a lot of work legislatively to tell people that there's a lot of work that still has to be done
Yes,
for people
I
with
agree.
developmental disabilities.
Yes.
So we need to catch that data that people are dropped.
Yeah. All right. And then I'm looking at Stacy's question. Can you please let us know the barrier for AT devices falling? Okay, so kind of the same thing. When we kind of talked about the graduating part, when they move to a new district, again, it's up to the school's discretion. They don't have to send it to the new school. With our reimbursement program, I will say that if they move, say for instance, they start at District A at the beginning of the year, District A does an application, they purchase a device for the student, and then the student moves to District B. And they don't, District A does not send the device along with them. District B, if they're, all within Missouri and it's within the same school year, District B cannot do a new application for reimbursement because the application is tied to the student, not the district. So it's only one application per student per year. So again, there's another gray area. If they move to that new district without taking the device along with them, then the new district is still, obligated to provide that assistive tech. They just don't qualify for our reimbursement program. So again, we encourage schools to send that stuff when they move, but they don't have to. As far as what resources are available when a family is experiencing pushback when requesting AT at school, this one is a hard one. Again, I think knowledge is power here. The more that they know, especially when it comes to IDEA, and just the law in general, when it comes to that, I think the better off that they will be. Schools can always reach out to us, especially if it's a school in Missouri. If they don't know about our reimbursement program, if they're worried about the cost, they can always reach out to us and talk to us about our program. But as a parent, just advocating for your child and I just think don't back down. If it is finalized, if the IEP is finalized, and the parent does not agree, there is an appeal process that they can go through. So again, I would just strongly encourage them, do their research. If they can do their research, and possibly even trial some stuff on their own, and just go to the IEP team with as much knowledge as possible, I think is the best option for them. Okay, Aaron, we can get AT for the students for home use. Okay, I think Aaron, yeah, you were just talking about the waiver program. Sorry, I'm going through some of these. I don't have, are you talking, I don't know, Sarah, if you're talking about getting more information on regarding like the law and stuff. Like the only information I have found, I don't have like a specific person to contact. They do have state board meetings that are in Jefferson City. I think those are like every like fourth Tuesday of the month or something, second or the fourth. So that's the only really information that I have. Matthew, I know you said when you say contact us, what's the best way to do that? I think the emails are, Angelina, aren't our emails on the last slide? So you can email us also on our website, at.mo.gov. I also have a phone number on there. You're always more than welcome to call and, ask questions, brainstorm anything. And then Sarah, yes, they can call us, get more information on reimbursement. Angelina, I know we're almost out of time. Do you want to unmute Nakoma?
Yes,
Or
oh.
maybe she just left.
Nakoma, I'm not sure if you,
Or maybe I answered your question.
let's see. Looks like Nakoma is still here. Nakoma, if you still had your question,
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, I guess most of my questions have been answered. It was about when a school just tells you, sorry, we can't give them what a doctor has said that they need.
Yeah, so I would advocate, especially if you have documentation from a doctor, I would request that information be put into the IEP. And then, as parents, you can request, and they do have to document that. And if they don't document that, then they're not doing, they're not following the law.
Right.
So,
I think my question is, what would be the next step if you have advocated and they still won't?
So I guess it depends on where the pushback is coming from. If it's coming from the teacher, I would just go to the next level up. Because it could be pushback from the teacher because they don't know how to use the device and they don't want to learn how to use the device. So then go, to the principal. There should, in every IEP meeting, there should be what's called an LEA, a local education agency representative. So that's typically like your process coordinator, your principal, somebody that's higher up in those positions that can say, yes, we can purchase this. Yes, we can provide this service.
Yeah, we've taken it there all the way up, through counselor, through the principal, and all the way up through administrative to the top of the administration. And we're
even
just still
the
getting,
SPED director.
yes, SPED director was no help. And it's just no, sorry, we just can't.
I also see in the Q&A that somebody had suggested PNA and also the DD Resource Council as additional places that could offer help. I'm not sure what kind of additional information or resources they would have. And then I also see the Missouri Planning Council or IMPC. I apologize, I do not know what these abbreviations are. Just reading them from the chat.
Yeah, it's definitely not a problem that you should run into. And so a lot of people are just not sure how to answer, where to go next when the school is just not.
Right. And and so I'm seeing a little bit more information. The only thing I would really suggest with that situation, because something like an ORCAM is more expensive. Is this like an ORCAM for reading, or is it like the ORCAM My Eye?
No, this was actually a simple request for enlarged print textbooks.
Okay.
Or it was one or the other. Either we need enlarged print textbooks or an iPad or tablet device to do the reading on. And the school has not cooperated with either. The best they've done is given some really, they do enlargements that they are really poor quality enlargements, which do not help a visually impaired child. And the enlargements have, the edges will be cut off, part of the assignments are missing, part of the information is missing. And the sizing is inconsistent. It's never the same from classroom to classroom.
So I guess my two suggestions would be so David Baker, our director, he works a lot with accessible educational materials, which, you know, has, you know, that includes the large print, that includes, you know, being on, you know, like a digital version so they can access text to speech. I would reach out to him. His information's on our website.
Okay.
I would reach out to him to see if he has, you know, a kind of a contact person or what to do next in that sense. Or, I mean, the only other option, which I think that this would be a pain, and I would hate for you to have to go through this, but if you do have to go through like the appeal process, I don't know a whole lot about that process. But you know, something like enlarged text for a student who's low vision, makes total sense. I don't know why the school's not, you know, providing that or providing a good quality of that.
I think it's a very small school, and I think this is their first experience at dealing with it at all, and they're not sure how to go about it, but at the same time, I'm not sure how to tell them to go about it either. So,
Yeah, so I would reach out to David first. He will have more information, and yeah, maybe it is something that school just doesn't know about it, and they don't know that they, because a lot of this stuff it can be provided for free. So maybe they're just seeing like a dollar sign, and that's why they're like, nope, which isn't
okay.
right, but yeah, that would be my suggestion.
All right, I will do that. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Diana was the one that was putting some additional resources in the Q&A. I'm not sure, Diana,
Yeah.
if you raised your hand to talk about those a little bit more, or if you had another question.
Okay. This is Diana Willard. I'm with the Missouri Planning Council for Developmental Disabilities, and I'm a self-advocate as well. If you're having a lot of problems with your schools, give the council a phone call or Impact. They can help you. The worst case scenario is Missouri Protection Advocacy. They are attorneys that help parents get what they need in school systems. I had to use them for my son when he was in the schools, but I had the worst case scenarios happen for him. That is the worst case scenarios. But you want to go the best case scenarios.
And can you say that name one more time? I'd like to include that in the slides. Those attorneys.
Go to the Missouri Planning Council.
Mm-hmm.
And we have information on our website on how to do IEPs, a whole class that you could do online on how to run your IEPs. There's also Impact that has parents that can help you advocate. There's Missouri Protection Advocacy. They are attorneys that if you are being bullied in the school systems, they look at your cases, and they are attorneys throughout the whole state of Missouri. They look at what's going on. They will help advocate for you in the school systems. I use them. Mine was the worst case scenarios. And even though I'm a self-advocate myself, you can't advocate for yourself very well. I can advocate for other people all day long, but I can't advocate for myself very well. So we have a lot of information and a lot of resources on our website, but you can also call us. And we have a phone number on our website.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, well, Angelina, can we add that to the slides before we send them out?
Yes, I will make sure that all of these are added.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And I know David Baker. He knows me from a long time.
David knows everybody. And everybody knows David.
Well, he's given me a lot of assistive technology, and it's changed over the years from way back when. And I can't get to my camera because of the way my screen is. But you're seeing a picture of my mother when she was alive and me roller skating together that we dance skated. But yes, time has changed since my school days. And we have come a long ways in technology wise, where it wasn't there in the 70s. Thank God. And we don't use the word retarded anymore. So parents, take care of your kids because they are the future. And I'm 65. So they're me.
Tara, I'm not sure if you're seeing the question submitted from Mandy Cross. I'm not sure if that's if we would have any different resources than what was submitted for that specifically.
Yeah, I think Nakoma said that for some reason she was coming up as Mandy or is something like that. Yeah, so I think we kind of talked about that question. Yeah, I would reach out, yeah, to David about that. Yeah, because if he doesn't qualify for a waiver, yeah, I mean, then the school's gonna have to get it.
All right. Well, we are all caught up in questions. Sorry for going over, but we wanted to make sure that everybody's questions got answered. Just a few more things here. The next benefit series is going to be on September 11th. That's on Medicaid 101. In the chat, I had put the registration link for Medicaid 101. They also want to make sure that they answer everybody's questions. So there is a form as well to submit your questions ahead of time to make sure those get answered. And then the next technology series is September 25th. That's going to be on assistive technology for mental health. And then I am going to really quickly put out a closing poll. Other than that, thank you all for being here, and thank you all for giving each other additional resources. We appreciate any additional information that you have. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to either Kara or I, and we will see you next time.